or whether you're buying, selling, or simply just curious about the value of your property, understanding what goes into determining its worth is essential. And today we're going to discuss some key factors, trends, and tips that can help you navigate the ever-evolving real estate market. And Nazia Shah, who is a property practitioner, joins us to give us some of this information as we try to navigate. So, Nazia, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. So, let's start by you telling us a little bit about what property valuation really is. How would you define it for somebody, a lay person in the street?
Okay, so basically, when purchasing a property, it's very important to take into account what the property value actually is in terms of your purchase. So you would have a property that's on sale and you would be interested in that property, but of course, perhaps an agent would be marketing the property. Now, before you actually make an offer, the best to do is on your own side, in terms of your own homework, you'd want to do a property valuation on your own. Now, what that entails is taking the real estate valuation really takes into account many hard facts about a property. So its location, the size of the property, the amenities, floor plans, what is based in and around the area, what the current value of the property is in and around the area, what is the rental value if you're looking at it as an investment, what the yield is in terms of after a few years, what the value of that property and how it has been increasing in the area. So all of this really is what a property valuation. So yes, so that basically is what we would take into account in terms of the property valuation. As in all transactions as well, there's a supply and demand that is also as a factor. So for example, different countries have different ratios in terms of this. An example is because we're also very involved in the Dubai real estate market, we're finding that there's a huge amount of supply right now where the market's booming with new developments continuously. At this point, that means the supply is going to be probably a lot more than the demand over the next few years. So, but then again, in South Africa, for example, you would look at what's available in the area, how much more space there is to continue building, what are they building in and around the area that you're looking to purchase. For example, what schools would be in the area, supermarkets, ease of access, malls, etc. So all of this, ease of access on highways, etc. So, and then there's also the commercial real estate valuation as well that also relies on an estimate of the present value of future benefits. So yeah, these are the concepts really that you take into consideration in terms of property valuations.
All right. So it's not as simple as just looking at a property, walking around the property and then, giving valuation, but there's more included, as you've just mentioned, because I never thought about some of the things that you mentioned, but it's good to know. Yes. So how does one actually go about getting a property valuated?
So there are real estate brokers and agencies like ourselves that do in fact have these done. We use very high-tech systems now that are in place, in fact, adds in a lot of the data that's already in this as part of software. So you'd make inquiry, or you're welcome to get in touch with our offices. We're Infinity Realty Group in South Africa, easily where we can be found, but that basically is just one of the options. I mean, you'd want to look at your area specialist, of course, get a valuation, and preferably, of course, if you're buying through an agency, use another agency to give you a valuation.
Absolutely. So are there different methods of evaluating a property, or is it just one simple method that can be used?
So there's certain methods. There's data. This is specific data on the property and general data related to region, city, neighborhood, where the property is located, and all of this data is calculated, as I've mentioned. So that would be seen as an appraisal method. And then the appraisals use three basic approaches. So in order to determine the property's value, they use a sales comparison approach. This is commonly used in valuing, example, single family homes and land, sometimes called the market data approach. So it's an estimate of the value derived from a comparison with recently sold properties that have similar characteristics. So example, you'd look at like for like and what they've recently been sold at. That then gives you a very good understanding of exactly what your property then is valued at. And to provide a valid comparison, each must be as similar to the subject property as possible. So as I've mentioned, if it's a 2-bedroom, 3-bathroom or with a garden and parking space, you'd want to look at exactly the same property, or two of the same properties, for example, in the same complex or estate or whatever it may be that you're actually considering. Okay, this is in terms of residential. So at least 3 or 4 comparables should be used in the appraisal process. Most important important factors to consider. Of course, size, comparable features, and perhaps most of all, the location, which has a tremendous effect on the property's market value. And then the comparables qualities. So no two properties are exactly alike. Example, if there's been adjustments made. So for example, one property may have had an adjustment as in they've retiled the entire bathroom, or they've recently done renovations or broken down a wall, and you've got more space or whatever it may be. All of that's then taken into consideration as well. Age and condition of the buildings. If there were any economic changes occurred during the sale of the property, there's lots of economic challenges or changes that occur all the time, and the value of the rand, etc., whatever it may be. All of this really can be, would be taken into consideration. And then any terms and conditions of the sale. So if the property seller was under duress, or if the property was sold between relatives at a discounted price, you take that into consideration as well. This is something that we see very commonly in our Muslim communities where, it was property sold. That's it. Very important that that's taken into consideration as well. Location, since similar properties might differ in price from neighborhood to neighborhood. And then physical features such as, again, landscaping, gardens, construction, quality of construction, number and type of rooms, square feet of living space. Like I mentioned, hardwood floors, you could put in heated floors, bars, kitchen upgrades, you could have added a fireplace, a pool, central, that sort of thing.
But there must be common aspects that would also decrease the value of the property, sometimes. So what are some of these aspects?
In terms of depreciation, for appraisal purposes, depreciation refers to any condition that negatively affects the value of an improvement to real property. So, example, physical deterioration. This includes stuff like painting and roof replacement, and incurable deterioration such as structural problems. So if things are very important, the foundation of the property, or there's a considerable leak that cannot be fixed, needs to break down a massive wall area in order to get to, and that's just not getting fixed. Or functional obsolescence. That's what it refers to as a physical or design features that are no longer considered desirable by property owners. So very big, massive mansions that may not be something that everybody wants to consider anymore, or outdated appliances, dated fixtures, or homes with 4 bedrooms but only 1 bath. These sorts of things, economic, but these are caused by external factors such as being located perhaps close to a noisy airport or a polluting factory, that sort of thing. So these are the things that would be bringing down the value of the property.
And sometimes those things can't be fixed. For instance, like you said, having a property that's close to an airport, so that's going to absolutely, keep the price of that property at a certain level, because there's not much you can do. It's not like you can pick it up and put it somewhere else.
Exactly. So these are very important factors to take into place when valuing a property. Absolutely.
Sounds like a lot of hard work, a lot of aspects to look into when you're looking at a property. And I was just thinking, when I saw the topic, I was thinking, okay, it can't be that hard. I mean, you look at a property, you go around the property and see what's broken, what's not broken, but you don't take into consideration all of these things. So I think the best thing to do is get someone like you, a professional, to actually come in and do all of that hard work for us in order for us to get a good, price on the property. Otherwise, you could actually lose out or pay too much for something in the long run.
Absolutely. So yes, that's right. That's what we do. It is definitely part of our services, a very big part of our services, something that we would do generally, whether we are the sole agents on the properties, whether it be through the buyer and seller. Our focus really is ensuring that, you work with integrity, ensuring that you're providing this upfront to the seller first, so that they understand, because there's times when obviously there's a lot of emotional attachment to a property, for example.
Yes.
And it's big part of the market, and of course, you're expecting huge valuation, or at least listing a property at probably something that's just grossly out of the market value, and because of emotional attachment, example. So we deal with all of this with our sellers. It's very important that they understand these aspects with all of the data that we would then ensuring that they understand that this is not something we're taking off the top of our heads. It's actually, this is what's happening in the market. This is provided to our clients. If they do a sole mandate with us, this is then a service freely, or at least added onto our sole mandate, which means that you will be offered a full property valuation before listing your property. And that then gives you a very fair expectation of what to in fact expect when you put the property on the market. And of course, then we know we're working in line with the market, and of course, ensuring that we can get it sold for you as soon as possible. This is really what we're there for.
Do you find people come to you also if they're looking on upgrading their properties and wanting to know, what can I do to my property so that it would be, have a better value on the market? even if they're not selling at that particular time?
Yes, absolutely. We have a lot of existing buyers that would do that. So generally, they'd want to know what their neighbor's done, for example. Okay, so what if we, a specialist, you practically know exactly what's happening with each floor, every apartment. For example, if you're working, it depends on what you're working, and this is what we train our agents on all the time as well, basically. So yes, coming back to your question, very important, a very interesting question to ask. Yes, my clients would want to know, so what can I do? What can I do to upgrade? And we then, of course, would make suggestions, and that usually works, and of course adds huge value, because then, of course, that's taken into consideration as well.
Any tips that you could share with those who are maybe trying to sell or are buying property?
Yes, again, we're on the subject, and it is very important. Anybody looking to sell would want to make sure that they're having a proper valuation done. Anyone looking to buy as well, taking everything into consideration that I've just said, make sure that you have a second opinion from an outsourced company before you make a purchase, for sure. And I say this to a lot of my buyers, because I believe that at the end of the day, they would still come back based on the fact that we have the right statistics and our properties are based or marketed at the right prices. But most importantly, in terms of tips, one thing is use your intuition. If you feel that there's something not okay when you're making a purchase, please, by all means, don't let that go. But if you have a good feeling about something, usually your first choice is the best. And so when you're looking as well, your first choice usually is the best. You might want to look around and continue looking, and whatever it may be, generally, you'll always find that you'll come back to the first option that originally chosen, because that's when the excitement and the hype is really up there. And it's an exciting time if you're looking to either purchase or even to sell, to look perhaps for a bigger purchase or whatever it may be. And yes, by all means, do get in touch with us. We're very passionate about what we do, and our agents are ready to assist you wherever you may be in South Africa. So by all means, that's it. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, much appreciated, and shukran for enlightening us. It's good to learn new things, and I've given me quite a bit of insight into how valuations are done with regards to property. So I think, inshallah, when I decide to buy, or if one of my kids decides to buy, at least I know what I'll be talking about should become part of that situation as well. But really, thank you very much for your time. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum.
Absolute pleasure. Wa alaikum salam.